Good morning, everyone. It's January 16th, 2026, and we are here in we are here in what I would argue is probably the best place in America to be today, the coast of Southern California. Specifically, we're here in Santa Monica, because it doesn't get much better than this, folks. The high here is in the upper 70s. Beautiful, perfect, crystal clear blue skies. It's the kind of day that you wish you could just put in a bottle and save for later. Share it with everybody you know. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do today. We're going to be driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, specifically the stretch from Santa Monica to Oxnard, because my hope is that if you're sitting out there somewhere in this big, beautiful world, freezing to death, miserable, you can get a little taste. Ooh. This will provide you with some comfort. So let's get started. Unfortunately, our drive kind of got started on the wrong foot because I didn't realize you couldn't make a left turn out of the parking lot I was in. I didn't know that you could not make a left turn there. Do we have to do it this way? So I had to go on a bit of an annoying detour through town. All right, let's go. Stupid mother. No. God almighty. Okay, this is better actually because we can really start at the terminus. You'll see that sign on top of us that says PCH 1 to Oxnard. And this road goes by a few different names. You can either call it the 1 or you can call it PCH. Don't call it the PCH, because apparently that's one of those ways that people in California are like, oh, this person's from out of town. You know, as you guys may have seen with my tool fog video, the incorrect pronunciation of words is used in places like California especially as sort of a status symbol, because there's no possible way you would know how to pronounce any of these words, you know, unless you heard a person who lived here say them. And so the pronunciation defies all laws of the English language, and it's used more to see if you're an outsider or not. You know, I mean, Los Angeles, look at that word. That's a Spanish word that is not even close to how you would pronounce it in Spanish, but the only way that you know is because you've heard people say it. Okay, all right. Now we can start our journey proper. The 10 freeway ends pretty abruptly at the coast in Santa Monica, and actually this is I got in a fender bender here once because, and it's a long story, it was Memorial Day, and personally, if you ask me, I think it was kind of the person in front of me's fault, but the insurance company doesn't feel that way, and that was actually the impetus behind the video that I made about AAA, you know, where I was crashing out, as the kids say, about insurance. Love honking in tunnels. Did you hear that? That was me honking. For once, I was honking for a nice reason. Okay, so we have officially begun Pacific Coast Highway, and on the left here, you might not be able to see with this angle. I tried to get you a nice wide angle so you could see all the beauty and splendor, but there, right there, is those two black and pink houses that have become sort of a meme, as it were. You know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're better off, honestly. So just forget it. On the right here, these cliffs are called Palisades. That's the word for, you know, this sort of, well, I guess technically the word originated from, you know, a fortified sort of wall, but these natural cliff formations sort of form natural palisades. And that's where the name of the Pacific Palisades, the neighborhood, which very sadly burned down recently, comes from. And unfortunately, our drive is kind of going to start on a little bit of a bummer because we have to drive through the burn area. But if you ask me, I think that that's going to be kind of interesting because hopefully that'll be a nice sort of preservation of who knows how this area is going to end up being built up as they sort of as all the predatory, real estate people swoop in and start buying up these very expensive, valuable lots. So the Pacific Ocean, you may not have been able to see it yet, but that's on our left. And there are portions of this drive where you can see it better than others. But I figured that I want to give you the perspective as though you are driving or you're in the passenger seat. So that's why I picked this angle. Hopefully it'll be all right. Oh, what a wonderful day. Oh, geez. Feel that beautiful breeze. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear me talking even though it's windy. If you can, too bad. Because it's a crime to roll the windows up on this drive. So we are going to go through actually a pretty substantial stretch at the beginning where it's basically a disaster zone, because it was quite a substantial fire. A little bit of trivia, I guess this will only matter to the hench heads, but Cocky Boing Boing was actually shot at a beach that's coming up here called Will Rogers. Unfortunately, Will Rogers was in the path of the devastation from the wildfire, so I think it's still set up as a disaster zone, where like the people come and they stage the FEMA cars or whatever. But you know what? That's kind of what I tell people about California. It's like there's a lot about living here that is bad, yes. But that's sort of why I find it so beautiful. I mean, it's like it's probably the most perfect paradise on earth, naturally. And yet, we decided to build the shittiest possible city in terms of urban planning. And yet, even so, if you ask me, the spirit of the people here is what overcomes that. And so I find that to be very beautiful. Oh, Jesus. Why do you need a f***ing loud motorcycle like that? Shut up! God. Okay, we get it. That's so f***ing annoying. Sorry, I said I was gonna try not to curse in this because I want to be family friendly. This is the Will Rogers beach I was talking about on the left here. Looks open. But you can see on the right some fire damage. This is where it starts. So we're officially in the area that is called Pacific Palisades. So you can see all on the right here. The green has started to come back because of the recent rains, but you can still sort of see that, some of the larger, on the left, look, there's some burned trees there. Jeez. One of the things that I love about California is that it's green in the winter. So the winter is actually greener than the summer. The winter is when all the grass grows and everything, because that's when we get the rain. So that's why I said, I mean, it makes it the perfect place to be in the winter. Speed limit's 35 here, work zone. For a long time it was... Okay, I see. I think it is still 25 coming up. And you really have to go, they say 25, which is not the normal speed limit of this road, but it's been 25 since the fire relief efforts have been going on. And they are not kidding. You really have to go 25, because if you don't, they will get your ass. At least the times that I've been out here, they have. Every time. Every time I see them pull over somebody for even, because, you know, people drive through it and they're like, oh, well, I don't have to actually go 25. I can go 30, 35. But they'll get you. They mean it. And the fines are pretty expensive because it's a, you know, they just are expensive. I don't know why. It's a work zone or some bullshit. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to curse. I'm doing really bad with that. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm going to set the cruise control on 25 because I don't trust myself. Oh, shit. Okay, hang on. And people behind me, they're going to get mad at me, but y'all, it's 25. So I'm sorry, but I'm doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Go f*** yourself, honestly, if you're mad. Because the speed limit's 25. You can't see in the rearview mirror, but there's this Ford truck that's riding my ass. So you'll really see some of it here. Check this out on the right. Oh my goodness. A lot of fire damage. But it's growing back nicely. And, you know, the good thing is that you can see the ocean on the left more because all the oceanfront property isn't there anymore. I also have to pay particular attention to go the speed limit because, you know, there's the old saying, don't do two illegal things at once. I'm not especially, you know, I don't know specifically the legality of doing a tour video in your car. I mean, what's the difference between doing this and doing an actual tour bus, you know? I'm doing the same thing. It's just my audience is in a little box. So the first half, or I guess to me, you can really split this drive into thirds. The first third is the Santa Monica portion, the Palisades portion. The second third is the Malibu portion, and the third is the Ventura County portion. The third is very nice because the third is you can really see all the natural cliffs. There's not as much development. You see, all these people are going around me acting like I'm a huge jackass, but it's 25. Do you see the signs? And look, traffic fines doubled in work zones. So, I mean, they're not going 25. They're going 40 at least. But I'm sorry, I have to set a good example for the kids at home, you know? That lady's driving with one of her eyes bandaged. She's about to pass me on the left here. You can't do that. You don't have depth perception. Jesus Christ almighty. I'm telling you, this town. So, all on the left here. Well, actually, never mind. I'm a little too early. But you can see this parking lot on the left is another beach. And we are going to have to take occasional breaks, you know, to change batteries and restart the camera, but I'll try to make it not noticeable. Okay, this is the Malibu city limit. So we're officially entering Malibu. They're doing some road work here, but on the left, look on the left, this all used to be houses, but those are all now just vacant, burned down lots. I would presume that this area is probably going to be under construction for years. So this construction isn't going anywhere. But don't worry. The drive gets a lot nicer later. But I have to show you, you know, warts and all. I can't be deceptive. That's why I was thinking about this morning. I haven't driven on this stretch in a long time. Because now, since all this construction is going on, I usually take the 101 way around. So you can go up and around inland and then come out in farther in Malibu and avoid all this construction. But for, you know, I really want to do the whole thing start to finish. It's crazy to think that, you know, like I said, all this on the left here used to be houses. And there's a few still standing just by pure luck that the fire didn't reach them. What made that particular Palisades fire so dangerous was that we were experiencing what's called a Santa Ana wind event. And actually, technically, we're experiencing the same thing right now, the Santa Ana winds. It's not very windy right now, but, basically it's, in LA, we either have offshore flow or onshore flow. So when we have offshore flow, that means that the breeze is blowing from the desert to the ocean. And so that's blowing in the hot, dry air. So it's very dry today. I mean, I think it's great. It's really nice weather, but unfortunately that's fire weather, And in a situation like the one that we had in 2025, it was very, very, very dry, and the winds were very heavy because they were hurricane force winds, basically. So even though it was nice, sunny, beautiful like this, it was hot, dry, temperatures in the 80s, I think, and hurricane force winds. So everybody's sort of now, in retrospect, trying to find who to blame for this, and I'm sure that you can find infrastructure problems with how the LAFD, the LA Fire Department, handled this. But the truth is, it's kind of an uncomfortable truth that nobody really wants to accept, but the truth is, if the wind is 80 miles per hour and it hasn't rained in 8 months, and there's a fire, which there will be, I mean, it's only a matter of time, it's a tinderbox, then there is not a damn thing anybody can do about it. And that's a very scary thought, but it's the truth that I think everybody kind of wants to avoid. It's sort of the reality of sorry to lib out, but climate change, that's the reality. And when something like that happens, the only thing you can do, because the helicopters can't, they can't get in the air, the helicopters can't get in the air to dump water. They can't put out that fire. So the only thing you can do is pray that the wind changes direction away from your house. That's it. And the other thing is that this area, the Santa Monica Mountains, which are on the right, has burned completely to the ground several times. Obviously, the intensity with which these disasters occur has been increasing, but it's not like we don't know. We had no idea that was going to happen. California, the geography is such that these wildfires happen, but I'm sure that they're just going to rebuild everything in the exact same damn spot. And then it's going to happen again. 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 2 years from now, it's going to happen again. I promise the mood will get a little lighter here as we exit the fire area. Look on the left, all those palm trees, some of them you can see the tops are chopped off or they're charred. People are hard at work doing something. I don't know what they're doing. Gas lines, something like that. Who knows? And apparently, I heard that they quote-unquote caught the guy who supposedly quote-unquote did it. Some Uber driver. I don't know who. I have no idea. Obviously, being charged with the crime is not the same as having committed the crime, but apparently they said that, interestingly, it was a fire that had started weeks prior. So allegedly, this guy set a fire on New Year's Eve, and the fire smoldered underground. So it wasn't a fire, really. It was just hot embers that smoldered underground. And then, weeks later, when the Santa Ana wind event started, it stoked those hot embers, and the fire really started again, which is crazy. That's absolutely crazy to think about. So we really didn't stand a chance, because the fire started a week prior. That's just nuts. Nuts to me. And who knows if that's true? Maybe that. I mean, they were out for blood. The public trying to find somebody to blame. So I don't know, they probably buried him under the jail. God knows if he actually did anything wrong. Hope he had a good lawyer. Okay, so I believe the worst of the fire damage is past us now. We're really getting into the heart of Malibu. This is this the pizza place? No, it isn't. If you ask me, this kind of, I don't even know what you would call it, this sort of contemporary, chic, kind of design, I find very unappealing. There's a dispensary up here that, well, never mind. Okay, so up here on the right is a pizza place called Tony's. What's it called? Something like that. D'Amore's. Wow, I was way off. But I'm a huge fan of the show Everybody Loves Raymond. And I always think it's funny that in there they have a big printed picture that's a photo of Ray Romano's head and a quote from him that says, "It's the best pizza place in Malibu." Which I always imagine him saying sort of like, well, what else are you going to do? It's the best pizza place in Malibu. Sort of like that. Now on the right, you'll see Malibu Ella Greek Eats is a bucket. The sign is a bucket because this actually used to be Malibu Fried Chicken. So I guess they just kept the bucket, which is fun. Coming up here is the Malibu Pier. That's going to be on the left. I always like this sign, the AV. I think it's a nice retro sign. Jack in the Box. Nothing special there. This is a neighborhood called Malibu Lagoon. And, oh man, ecologically it is fascinating. There's this area called Malibu Lagoon that they've done a lot of work to try to restore to its natural sort of ecosystem, because, you know, it's a unique ecosystem in that it's a marsh, and marshes around here are sparing because, you know, it's dry. Now, unfortunately, it was pretty much completely paved over and developed, and it was only very recently that they have a teeny tiny little section that they restored. So a future video I want to do over there in Malibu Lagoon, but not today. We have to keep it focused today, otherwise we're never going to get done. This is the vet, Malibu Vet, Animal Hospital. So if your cat chokes on something when you're in Malibu, go there. And we're coming up on the right to, is it here? Yeah, right? No, it's not. Not yet. I think these are dorms for it, but I won't spoil the surprise. Can I just say also, I was a little upset. Okay, wait, actually, so yes, we're coming up here on Pepperdine University, Pepperdine, which was the filming location of a little show called Zoe 101. It's also a all-Christian college, I believe. And as you can imagine, I can't even imagine what the tuition here is, but you'll see it once we crest this hill. On the right, all that green grass, that's the Pepperdine campus. I'm just going to say both. I'm just going to start saying every conceivable way that I could think to pronounce it. Zoe 101. This is going to be a nice view coming up here down this hill. Oh man, look at that ocean. Oh, that's good stuff. Oh, and on the right here, Malibu Seafood is really good. I don't think they're open yet, but oh my goodness. Oh, they're so good. If you're ever out here, definitely check them out. Oh, so I was gonna say that I'm a little upset because I was accused in a previous driving video of not using my turn signal, even though I was every time. I'm very diligent about my turn signal. You just couldn't see it based on the angle of the camera, so I would appreciate it if people would stop rushing to judgments and insulting my driving. Okay, Corral Canyon Road. Some very nice gentlemen to the left of me just gave me a thumbs up in their car. So that's very nice of them. Thank you, gentlemen. If you can see on the left, there's sort of a little portion sticking out in the ocean of the land that sort of juts out there. If you want to follow along at home, you'll see you can't miss it. There's a part of Malibu that sort of just pokes out. It's very distinct. That's called Point Doom. And that's a really, really beautiful, beautiful view. We're not going to stop there today because we don't have time. But it's wonderful. The only unfortunate thing, as with everything around here, is the parking situation. So really the only way to do it is you just got to sit there and wait for somebody to leave. But, you know, it's worth it. A lot of California is like, so this is the most beautiful thing on earth, but there's also this really shitty thing that you have to surmount in order to enjoy it. On the left is Paradise Cove. I've never been. It's a cafe that's on the beach, supposedly. I've heard everything. I've heard mixed things. I've heard it's great. I've also heard it sucks. So I don't know. I can't tell you. We're about to be approaching what is what's been my go-to lately, Zuma Beach it's called. There's the ocean peeking out ahead of us. We'll see more of the ocean in a little bit. There's also a beach over here called Westward Beach. That's also called so Point Doom, another thing, in the fictional Iron Man movie, Tony Stark's house is on Point Doom, which is just which is criminal. And in a just world, in that universe, he would be put in prison for trying to develop Point Doom itself. Not that he would be alive for long, his house would fall in the ocean probably, within the first year of construction. But Zuma Beach is over here on the left, and then there's also a beach a little further down called Westward Beach, which is also known as the Neck Breaker because of the way that the surf, there's really good surf out in some areas here, but it'll break your neck, hence why it's called the Neck Breaker. There was a famous incident of a surfer who, as a teenager, I forget his name, unfortunately, so I apologize if this person is watching, but he was paralyzed by a wave at that beach, and then he became, a successful paralyzed surfer, which is just great. I love that. Hey everybody, this is Dan from the future. Unfortunately, the microphone was not working properly for the last portion of this drive, so I'm going to be narrating the rest of it after the fact. Right now, it is 4:31 p.m. this same day, so me that you're seeing driving here was a few hours ago. Right now, the high is 83, and it's 26% humidity. The sun is just starting to set. We did get a little teensy-weensy bit more clouds, but very few. And something that I find interesting that sort of was strange when I first moved here from the East Coast was that in the wintertime, the sunlight is still the same, So the sun still sets at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and doesn't rise until late in the morning. Not only that, but the angle of the sun in the sky is much lower, so basically it's like normal winter in regards to the light, but not with regards to the temperature and the foliage and the all of that. So it's kind of like you're getting a little bit of both. And to be honest with you, I've actually started to really prefer the winter here compared to the summer, because you sort of get the best of both worlds, and the winter ends up being a lot nicer because in the summer it's very hot, and the sun can get kind of oppressive. So the day like today is pretty perfect. Of course, the summer, and I actually did also, just when I stopped filming this video, I did manage to go in the ocean 2 different times. And that was very, probably a rational person would not have done that. But I did. And I really enjoyed myself. It was a little cold, but that's okay. And it actually set a personal record for the latest in the winter that I've ever actually successfully gone in the ocean without a wetsuit. So that was very nice and very fun. We now, specifically talking about the drive now, we're approaching the Ventura County line. So the line between Los Angeles County and Ventura County. And once we get into Ventura County, it's going to start getting a lot less developed. And it's going to be more sort of rugged. And I'll never forget the first time that I saw that. It was pretty amazing. When I was able to I lived in LA for a while without a car. And then when I got a car here, it was sort of like I unlocked the rest of the map, And many of you, if you're fans of Grand Theft Auto 5, you may have noticed that there's a lot of similarities, or maybe there's even going to be some comments that are like, hey, what are you doing in Los Santos? I get that kind of stuff a lot. And that's because Los Santos is very, very inspired by Southern California, particularly, they, I guess off the top of my head, obviously they were referencing the Santa Monica and Malibu and things in that. What do they call it in the video game again? It's okay, I don't remember what it is, but Vespucci Beach, that's what it is. Vespucci Beach is obviously an analog for Venice Beach, and it's some of downtown LA, some of Northeast LA, the mountains. So there's a little bit of Joshua Tree in there, a little bit of Salton Sea, all of that. You can find specifically the references if you're in Los Angeles proper. So just some facts about Pacific Coast Highway generally. It is part of a larger highway, quote unquote, that's called California State Route 1, and that's a very, very famous highway. That's Big Sur, it's basically goes through, up the coast of California, sort of straddles the coastline. Not for all of it. There are a lot of portions where, it's fragmented. So it's not one continuous highway. In theory, you could do the entire thing, but there's a lot of interruptions. For example, like when we stop today is going to be because the Pacific Coast Highway stops and goes inland into Oxnard. But the larger highway itself is the one. On the left here is Leo Carrillo Beach, which if you have a dog, that's probably the best beach for you because dogs are allowed on that beach. And, technically they're not allowed on the other beaches, but people do it anyway. Actually, as a matter of fact, one of the most unpleasant experiences I had at the beach, there are not many, but unfortunately I did step in dog feces when I was in the ocean once. And the waves were sort of washing over it. And I apologize. That probably is not very, it's not a very appealing thing to say, but it did happen. And it's like I said at the beginning of this, warts and all. I'm going to try to show you warts and all. So you can see here it's that sort of reddish brown colored, cliff face that is starting to appear in this area. And when we get to the end, the mountains stop very abruptly. And it goes into Oxnard, which is basically farmland and similar to the I think they call it the Oxnard Plain because it's a flat plain that is not elevated, so it doesn't have there's no terrain, and so that makes it ideal for growing food and produce and whatnot. I'm not sure what specific crops they specialize in the Oxnard Plain, but Oxnard, close to LA, is consistently one of the coolest places, and I'm talking about temperature-wise, in the LA metro area because Point Conception is where the Catalina eddy begins to form. And gosh, I guess I don't want to talk too much about the marine layer in this video because I'm going to save that for later. That's a whole other series. Okay, Neptune's Net is on the right here, and that's a very popular biker joint. And so I'd be willing to bet that those bikers that we saw at the beginning of this video were heading to Neptune's Net. And on the weekends, if you try to drive out here, there's tons of bikers everywhere, and they all sort of have a big old party at Neptune's Net. So we're officially in Ventura County, and you can see, you've got uninterrupted views of the ocean. And in the way distance out there, you might even be able to see an island on the horizon. That is the Channel Islands. And there's multiple of them. The Channel Islands are fascinating. I've only ever been to Catalina Island, which is the most famous one, and it's the only one that has human settlement. The others are sort of set aside as nature preserves, but you can still visit, and they have pretty strict regulations, like you have to wipe your boots and your shoes and things so that you don't track invasive species. And they're fascinating because they were completely cut off from the rest of the land, and so the Tongva Native Americans that used to live, in this general area, I believe would explore them a bit, but they have an endemic. There's a species of fox that is endemic to just the islands. So that there's a specific fox, I forget what it's called, the Channel Island fox maybe or something. Oh, I forgot, I'm at my computer, I can just look it up. Hang on. Channel Island fox. Yes, so The island fox is a small fox that is endemic, which means it's only found in these places. It's an endemic to 6 of the 8 Channel Islands of California. So there's 8 total, and the island fox can be found in 6 of them, which is just absolutely fascinating. So hopefully one day I'll be able to get out there. You got to get a ferry. Catalina Island was interesting, I mean, it was interesting. Yeah. No, I actually did really enjoy myself. I was able to, it's funny because they don't allow cars there because they're really trying to do like European cosplay. But they allow golf carts, which is silly to me because a golf cart basically is a car. So instead of cars, everybody's driving around in these stupid golf carts. So when I went there, I rented a bike and biked around, and it was very nice. Did some snorkeling, so I really enjoyed myself actually. So we're approaching Point Magoo, it's called. And yes, that is the actual way that you pronounce it, because I specifically asked a lifeguard up here, how do you pronounce Point Magoo? And he said, yeah, you're right. And Point Magoo is, I think I already talked about the underwater canyon. Oh, that's a good thing that I could do. Let me look up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the bathymetry map and try to see exactly how deep the water is right next to where we are right now. So yeah, Magoo Canyon is really not very far at all. It looks like it's only like a mile or so offshore, maybe even less. It pretty much immediately drops off. When you get in the water, you can stand there, but you don't have to walk very far before it drops off to 20, 30 feet. And then very quickly, 60 feet, 100 feet. And it's not very long before it's about 1,000 to 2,000 feet deep at Magoo Canyon. So you can probably actually see with your naked eye out there the point at which it drops off to, 1,000 or so feet, which is just unfathomable to me. I can't even imagine what... I just can't even imagine, Then the ocean is so... It's one of the reasons why I'm very fascinated with the ocean, because it's so vast. And... God, I don't even know. I don't know. It's crazy. Point Magoo is also a popular camping destination. So on the left here, you saw some of those RVs and things that people have been camped out on the beach. And on the right, coming up here, we may have already passed it, but there was sort of the cliff was all sand all the way up, which I can only imagine how. It's probably very dangerous. People are always walking up and down for exercise because it's really good for what are they called, calisthenics. But then kids, of course, also are playing and rolling around on it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so there's not much longer here. We're approaching the end, so I think that I'm going to sign off for now, and let you guys enjoy the next couple of minutes here. Okay, everybody, well, we have officially reached the end of PCH here at Point Magoo. What a beautiful day it is. The sun is shining beautifully over the crystal blue Pacific Ocean. Crystal blue, I guess. Yeah. Crystal blue Pacific Ocean. So I hope that you had a wonderful day today.